Hey everyone, it's Will Button, and it's been a while since the last video, but I'm excited to be back. And today we're going to talk about how to be a first-time CTO. Several of the clients I work with, I've got some folks there who are their first time as a CTO, and they're in early stage startups. And so I want to clear up some of the misconceptions that I've seen common with those guys in hopes that it helps you. So most of the time, whenever you're in these early stage startups, the first role of the CTO is writing the code to build the MVP and get that initial product launched. And that's the right direction to get that product launched. So once that's done though, your role as a CTO needs to shift and you need to get out of the code writing business, which seems contrary to like your gut reaction or your gut instincts, right? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what you should be focused on to help your company. So your first job is to get that MVP launched, and with that, you're hoping to either start generating revenue for your company or use that as part of your initial plan to get some funding or get some cash for your company to begin growing. And then you're going to hire someone to take over that coding role for you. So once you do that, you're probably wondering, well, what should I be doing as a CTO? Well, one of the early things that you want to be working on is figuring out what the cost of acquisition for your customers are. For example, everyone who either signs up for a trial on your website or downloads your app or is on your free tier, however your business model works, they're not going to convert to a paying customer. So let's say you spend $20 on Facebook ads, and that generates 100 new people downloading your app or signing up on your website. And then out of those 100 people, 20 of them convert to paying customers. So you spent $20, you got 20 customers, your cost of acquisition is roughly $1, right? So the next thing that you want to know with that after you have your cost of acquisition is what's the lifetime value of that customer. So let's say that you've got a $5 a month subscription service and your customer is with you on average for 12 months. Now, for early stage startups, lifetime value is always changing, because if your company's only 6 months old, you're never going to have anyone whose lifetime value extends beyond 6 months. So this is something that you want to start early on, but understand it's going to change as you get years of tenure into your business. So with our $5 a month subscription plan, if a customer stays with us for 12 months, their lifetime value is about $60. And that's just handy to know because it it allows you to help start forecasting or predicting what future revenue is going to be based on the current age of your average customer or of a subset of your customer base, right? Does that make sense? All right, the final thing that I want to talk about in this video is understanding how profitable you are. So let's take a look at a couple things. Let's say you've got 100,000 customers on your $5 a month subscription plan. That's $500,000 a month in revenue, okay? So what are our expenses? Let's say we've got $25,000 a month that we're paying to AWS for our infrastructure and hosting services. In addition to that, we've got another $15,000 that we're paying to third-party SaaS applications, whether that's like MailChimp for our mailing campaigns or New Relic for some monitoring, different things like that. Maybe Snowflake for data analytics. All of that stuff adds up to another $15,000. So we've got $25K to AWS, $15K for SaaS applications. We've got $40K we've spent right there. And then what's the cost of your engineering team? Let's assume that you've got 20 engineers at this point, and each one is costing you about $150,000 per year. So that's not their actual salary, but that's what the cost to you as the business owner is by the time you include their salary plus what you're paying for their health benefits and computer equipment that you're providing for them and any other benefits that you're offering to them as employees. All adds up to roughly $150,000 per employee. So we've got 20 engineers at $150K. That comes up to like $250,000 per month whenever we break that down. So $250,000 per month plus the $40K in our other expenses, we're at $290,000 a month, and we had $500,000 a month in revenue. So we haven't talked about any of the other non-engineering expenses, such as the cost of the salaries for the finance team, marketing team, the sales team, HR, any office space that you're having to lease, all of that kind of stuff we haven't talked about. So odds are we're not profitable at this point by the time we add up all of those other expenses. Now that could be good, that could be bad, but it's really, really important to know, because if you don't know, you're making bad decisions, right? So we have that number now. What do we do with it? Well, the first thing we want to do is figure out how much cash reserves do we have in the bank. You know, how much cash are we burning each month? How much cash do we have in the bank? That tells us how long our cash runway is going to keep us alive. And now we've got to figure out, with that information, what can we do within that cash runway that makes a difference in this? Can we reduce those operating expenses? You know, that's one of the common ways to approach this problem. The other thing is to look at the infrastructure itself. Maybe you're over provisioned a little bit. Could you support, you've currently got 100,000 users, could you support 200,000 users without increasing your infrastructure costs, so without increasing AWS or those SaaS expenses? If you could, that would be a pretty good scenario. It's now just a matter of getting those users in. Now the goal becomes to get those users in, which your role as a CTO is to go work with the marketing and the finance team and figure out who your common customers are, who your successful customers are, what they're doing in your app, what characteristics can you learn about those, and how can you go find more people like them. And so your goal is to find more customers, more people like your existing successful customers, and get them into your app to increase the number of customers that are adding to your revenue. So that's a lot to think about, right? And most of it's kind of not really technical, which is a little bit of a revelation for people who are taking on the chief technical officer role for the first time. Some businesses you might be in, you might be working with the finance team or your chief marketing officer who are also trying to reach these same goals or answer these same questions. And that's okay. I would rather have 2 of you or 3 of you or more working on this problem than not having anyone work on this problem, right? Because the downside of no one working on this problem means that you run out of cash, and then you have to have a really, really difficult conversation with your engineering team as you tell them that you're going to have to lay them off. You may be out of cash. You might even lose your entire company at that point. So that's the motivation for tackling these problems and stepping out of the code writing role and embracing the non-technical aspects of the CTO role. Hope that was helpful. And if it was, or even if it wasn't, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.